So first of all, I just want to say thank you for all of you. It's really been a great pleasure to see everybody again and to get close to you again and to live again the same spirit as brought up in Sendai. And in that light, I just want to show you some images of our conference here, our global symposium. We had the pleasure of listening to some mantras by these two friends of mine. And our first session was conducted by Amy, who brought us a very nice panoramic view of these times of COVID and so many changes that are challenging us in so many areas, not only yoga therapy. She's shown us some trends of things that are changing or not changing in light of facing new forms of how to practice yoga or how to practice yoga therapy, and how people are adjusting themselves and their modus operandi to practice yoga therapy, to teach yoga, to be a yoga therapist. And we are definitely finding new ways of doing that, as well as new ways of connecting to each other, which is interesting. Although we didn't want this to happen, we had, I think like many people had the idea that the way the world was organized up until 6 months ago was so definite that things couldn't change. And then just a small, tiny, small piece of matter, the virus, came to show us that we're not so important, that society is not so important, that things can change, and that everything changes as we've learned from our oldest philosophies, and we adapt. And we have to adapt, and we have the power to adapt. And this is really, really reassuring and gives us hope to go on. And she's shown us also a very nice report of things that are already changing in the US, and also not so good stuff that, okay, so changing brings challenges, and people are in need of facing these challenges with creativity, yeah, in order for us to grow. And then Vyasa came and also gave us a nice picture, a nice panorama about how Sri Lanka is dealing with the same situation. And then we had some talks about the situation in different countries, which were really inspiring. And I bring you some of the images of people, okay, New Zealand, China, Canada, England, all friends, old friends and new friends that we are making. And then Lisa came with a very heavy burden I gave her to talk about, in the second session, to talk about regulatory acts or issues in different countries. And she's transformed it a little bit, which was really nice, because it took a more humanistic approach. And then she reminded us about keeping yoga in yoga therapy, and we began with a nice recitation of Sahana Vavatu mantra, and then a practice of some movements and stretchings. And she brought up the Sendai Declaration, which was really amazing. I thank her for doing that, and reminded us of the points that were raised. And then she developed her speech all around it, and even has taught us, has reminded us how things emerge, and then they start to get stronger and adapt, and people who believe in that, and then they get to develop their own rationale. And when something is well connected and developed in one part of the world, then in another one it starts emerging again and goes through the same process. And what that is what we are facing here, since we have so many countries which are way ahead of others, like Japan, Australia, US, Canada, no, sorry, not so much Canada, but also going on pretty well, and England and Brazil. For myself, I can say we are starting to develop a body of knowledge around yoga therapy and yoga therapists. We even don't have our association yet, but maybe after this huge conference we had, I think it's something that is going to emerge from that. And then after Lisa, we had, I will just pass on some issues, some slides. Then we had John bringing us the spirit of the Sangha that we started so happily and well hosted by the Japanese Yoga Therapy Society and Mr. Keishin. Thank you so much again. And this is a picture I never get tired of watching, because if you look at all the faces, you can't find one expression. You just can't find sadness, worrying. Everybody's happy here. Everybody, look, I am really happy. Yeah, and I miss this guy. He wasn't here. I don't remember his name. He's one of the examples of happiness. He was always laughing. I think he's in China. Yes. I don't remember his name, unfortunately. But then again, this is the spirit. We have to be happy on what we do. We came here to be happy, I believe. I don't think we came for anything else. Anyway, then John told us about the pillars and major goal of IAYT and yoga therapy. And in Mr. Keishin's lecture, we also had a reference to Professor Boli, Dr. Boli, who went there to start teaching about assessments, and a call for a more global cooperation in the European Yoga Therapy Society. And we also were told that, and we all know that IAYT is going through a transition, and we were introduced to Alisa Wastrow, who was very humble in saying that she's not a yoga therapist, but she's a yoga practitioner for very long. And she gave us a nice panorama of her point of view and how she means to integrate future steps which are being passed on to her. And I was really happy also to know that as Lee has told me that he's retiring, but also he said he's getting so many other appointments and empowerments after he's retiring. That's what's going to happen with John too, I think, and I believe, and I hope so. And I'm really thankful for them to being with us, even though they could be resting, but now they are more powerful than ever, and we need them to be there with us. Thank you so much. And then Mr. Keishin showed us a very nice lecture, some like the one he delivered in the Brazilian symposium, but even deeper in many aspects of how to do assessment and counseling. He showed us that they were in the World Health Organization working group, and that document is still not released, but going on through some work. And he's also shown some unpublished observation of the effects of yoga or isometric yoga in prefrontal cortex, which is an area that is related to uh, uh, immediate memory or working memory, and also sensations of well-being. So it is really nice to know that works going on reassure things that we have previously published with Sarah Lazar from Harvard, and still some works which are going on. And I'm really happy to get that. And I am also thankful for the terms assessment and instruction instead of diagnose and treatment, because then we don't get into conflict with the medical class and societies in our countries, even though we don't have a yoga therapy association here. We have to strengthen the yoga therapy movement, and we have to develop our own ways of assessing and instructing and treating people. Yeah, so that's what I've been calling and asking people here in Brazil. Let's develop our field without getting into conflict with the medical class, because if we do, they are to be our allies and not enemies, and vice versa. And they've shown also that they have created some university courses on yoga therapy and also master's degree along with SVIASA. And then we had a very nice lecture with Manjunath, and he has developed a very interesting point of view that we should put together tradition and science. And he's shown that these assessments of science aren't at all novelties, because Swami Kuvalayanandaji already has started this in the 1920s. And I was very thankful for him for showing images of Swami Kuvalayanandaji, and also Swami Rama, I think, yeah, Ramananda Yogi, and also investigations which are done in very stressful and demanding conditions. And yoga has also been there to help people. Then here is just a picture of one of the meetings to acknowledge people and thank you for being there. And that's the session. The fourth session was conducted by Lee and Anek, and it was really interesting because Lee brought us a report on the Global Yoga Therapy Day, which was really, really amazing, as I can see now, but I got my ear like pulled by him and many of us because we weren't there. We should have been. And I can't invent anything to tell him that to justify I was there, because I really don't remember why I wasn't there, but I should have been. He's reached in the community outreach 1,000 people, yoga professionals, and then when the summit online came, they had many presentations, probably very good people speaking about very and much interesting themes, and more than 2,000 attendees online and almost 10,000 views. It's amazingly. Thank you so much for Lee and Amy for going on through building this yoga day, which were huge. And once again, I'm really, really sorry. Look at how many people have watched the 28 days leading of this yoga therapy day. 371,000 people. And he also shows a way of contacting people all over the world online, which is free, and you can find a yoga therapist wherever you are, and through this directory.yogabetterhealth.com. So thank you very much, Lee. And then we had our final part of the session conducted by Anek, who brought us again the necessity of giving more power to human connection. Let me just take a look at the chat here. I don't want to pass by anybody. So Masayo saying good morning. Amy, thank you. My pleasure. Thank you, Amy. Keishin. Yes, his name is Abinash. Thank you, from Shanghai. Thank you, Mr. Keishin, the laughing guy with the beard that I said I admire so much. Michael, thanking Mr. Kimura. Dilip saying wonderful experience with the Global Consortium. Look like this is going to be the new normal. Yes, it was wonderful, Amy. We will all be there next year. Thank you, Global Consortium team. Lee and Marie, yes, they're telling us about them. And Marie Johnston was the key person. Amy was just a small part. That's Amy saying she's humble. And Merlisa, yes, thank you, Anne Marie, for your work and support and supporting our field and developing community. Thank you so much. Yeah, okay, so then Anarchy was bringing us the continuation and the deepening of this Sangha unity that was developed furthermore in Amsterdam. And she reminded us of a motto for yoga therapy, which is reduce suffering and promote well-being. And then we were split into small groups, and I had the pleasure to be with these friends that you all know. And before that, she reminded us of those sheets that we produced after working in smaller groups. So we were trying to get the idea of what was important in yoga therapy. So here is like a how to develop. I think this was something very nice, very interesting. Look, here in Lisa's group, we had the house of yoga therapy, like where we could stand for and feel the structure, the pillars and bases of yoga therapy. And she developed it so pretty well. And then in the other group, we had what to do in between in this relationship with the clients and in the consultations, and which kind of behavior we should reinforce, how we should behave, and how we would empower people. I think it's just taking the pillars and expand into the how to do what should be done. I think it was really complementary. And also there was a group that brought up the Montessori model and said that it could be somehow connected to yoga therapy. And this is one of the final pictures. And once again, you can see a closed face. All are open in smiles, open in faces, open in eye gazing to something we are looking forward and something we are sharing in the present. So with that, I'd like to show you just a small part of what happened in our Yoga Therapy International Symposium in Brazil. Once again, we had a huge amount of attendees. It was a surprise, and a very nice surprise to have all of those. And we were fortunate enough to have all these friends and leading scientists or yoga therapists in their fields of action in our symposium. And that only could happen because we had this online this online meeting. There is something coming in the WhatsApp group about, I'll read later, I think it's Anek saying, but let's go. So we had Sarah Lazar bringing all the kinds of knowledge she produces in Harvard and all over the world. We had Shirley Tellis from the Patanjali University. We had Ranjit Bogal, who is leading scientist and director in Kaivalya Dam, director of research in Kaivalya Dam, Professor Keishin Kimura, and Dr. Mukund Boli, who was like a role model for me and for so many of us. So it was a very nice opportunity to show these people and to show Brazilian people, these people are helping us not spread only a nice message of investigation on yoga and yoga therapy. These people, you are helping us spread the word that yoga therapy is safe and necessary for times to come. Then my lecture there was to talk about the paths of yoga therapy. Specifically, I've told them about the consortium. I've told them about institutions all over the world. And this is my Instagram. If you want to take notes, it's all posts are in Portuguese, but you can see some pictures and some things that I post there and videos. And we have a very nice actor in Brazil who is called João Signorelli, and he was invited, he's a friend of ours, he was invited to do the closure of the symposium, and he impersonated Mahatma Gandhi, and he did a very nice speech for us. This is a picture that I took inside the studio from the television, and it was really touching for everybody. And I took the liberty of finishing my lecture, oops, sorry, by doing like one small adding to the logo of the Global Consortium, because I had the impression when we were talking about this, that this small ball here would be representative of local yoga therapy developments all around the world, and the big one would be the world. So I took the liberty and put our logo of the Yoga Therapy Symposium in the yellow ball, and also as the yellow ball was moving towards the center, also the logo is moving towards the center. It's not centralized here. And the same I did with the terrestrial globe, to mean that we are together and we are coming into the comprehension that the globe and local people, countries, and boundaries should cease to exist. We have to, as the Dalai Lama said, think about 7 billion people, and only one nation of 7 billion people. And just to tell you, we are working in Brazil with to produce more arguing points or evidences. We are gathering evidences of yoga as therapy. There has been a map of evidence in which I'm working on. And I want to show you, this is just a print of the screen. I will open the, let me see, where is it? I will open the online map of evidence so I can show you. Just one moment. Let me interrupt here because it was open here. Yeah. And if I can load it, I will show how it works. Yeah, here. So this is the yoga map of evidence. We have a map of evidence for meditation, for Ayurveda, for acupuncture, for aromatherapy, And for, I think there are 9 maps of evidence, okay? And anyway, we started with 505 systematic reviews, which were raised on Google Scholar, Web of Science, PubMed, and many other. And then we selected only as middle to good quality reviews, 150. And then we had to categorize the kind of yoga that was being investigated. It wasn't very easy to do that because people like to have their trademarks around the yoga term. And there are also revisions which don't talk specifically about yoga, but about techniques. Okay, so there are many terms here which were put together. And in the horizontal axis, we have the interventions. Well, the outcomes. So these are the interventions, and here we have the outcomes. And if you roll down or scroll, you can have the size of the ball indicates the quantity of studies, and the color indicates the quality. So green would be high quality, moderate quality, and low quality for red. I had found something nice for asthma, in asthma, I think. Well, if you click here, like in muscular distension, if you double click, then it opens here the name of the review, and if you click here, it will open the portal of the BVS, the virtual library in health, and you can get access at least to the abstract, and there is also a link for the complete text. So people like that would have access to good quality information around yoga and therapy. So with that, I will finish by showing you only, let me see here, yeah, one slide in which I invite us to talk about the future steps. So where are we to go from now? And then I open for discussion and everybody please, if you could raise your hand, I can attend you, or if you inscribe in the chat, okay, I'm next, it's probably better. So what will be the venue of the Global Consortium 2021? Will it be only online, or will it be online and presential and local, or both? Yeah. Should we have a deliberative or a business meeting to talk about like some terms and measurements that we are to have since we started? How are we going to call ourselves members, associates, invitees? Who can join the Global Consortium? Does it need does one need to be approved by how many members to be inside again, and who votes, who doesn't vote? And just to tell you and not forget, me, Lisa, and Marlisa, we are conducting a global survey. We have already talked to people who's done the local ones. And we've talked to Tina, who was one of the coordinators of the Great UK survey. We've talked to also Marlisa, who has done a survey in the US, and Anne-Marie. And we are putting together this, and we need support to do that. We're doing those meetings by ourselves in our free time. or in our work time. But also we need to know that if we're doing something that the Global Consortium really needs or wants us to do. I think it does, but anyway, we could talk a little bit about it. So I must thank you. I must acknowledge and thank the presence of Marcos Rojodi, who is my master in yoga. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't be here with you, and I wouldn't be connected to Kaivalya Dam. He stayed quiet during all the meeting, but I'm sure he would have a great deal to contribute with us. Thank you, Marcos G. And thank you, everybody. Thank you, all my friends. And I'm really sorry, but we have to finish. Does anybody else want to say like one word, like really 1 or 2 words?
Om 3 times. Om.
Oh,
Recite
yes.
3 times. Om.
Okay, but mic's off, okay? Or mic's on. Let's try with mic's
on. Mic's on. It will sound better.
So
let all the
mics
on.
everybody.
Yeah. Global mics. Global mics.
A big mass, a big on mass. Let me activate everybody. This I think I can.
Okay.
Yes, everybody's activated. Go ahead, Mr. Kishin, you command, please.
Three times Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Shanti,
Shanti.
Shanti.
Shanti.